you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Hey, who's down with OTC? Hey, welcome to the How to Review early Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, somewhere in the world anyways. Welcome to all of our international viewers coming from all parts of the world. So take a moment as you bounce into the room. Just give a shout out where you guys are tuning in from. We've got, a number of people popping in, but we've got Chip, co-host of On the Chain. Looks like he was #1, followed by Mitho, Nelson, and Achilleos. So welcome all of you guys. Looking forward to today's chat because there are some crazy things going on in the world, and it's not just in the crypto space. So Venmo is under investigation. I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about this new phenomena that is a SPAC. And if you guys don't know what a SPAC is, we're going to start hearing more and more about that because at one point, it was really big in the digital cryptocurrency world to have an ICO, and everyone's like, what in the world is an ICO? Isn't it an IPO? But now the stock world is also capturing new modes of getting around the confusion of the IPO from a direct listing to a SPAC. And all of that is very, very relevant, especially as the cryptocurrency space starts expanding. And we also see what Coinbase is going to do here in the very near future, which is actually releasing stock and not doing an IPO. So we need to talk a little bit about how all of those things are going to be orchestrated, how all that's going to come together. How is that relevant to Ripple XRP? How is that relevant to Bitcoin? How is that relevant to Ethereum? All of the different digital assets that are in this space that are all kind of, churning and burning right now as we see the entire market that's entered this massive, massive bull run. So I want to get into all of that stuff right now. All right, welcome back. So I don't know if that extra is a little bit superfluous. So let's see. We got some people bouncing here. We got Uncle Barbecue. Welcome to On the Chain to the How to Review all the way from Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Coles all the way in from London. Michael Atu all the way in from London. Arcaholic coming in from Toronto. And we've got somebody with an unknown ID from Sydney. So lots of cool things going on. Tony Morissette, what is going on? Good to see you on. M Ant all the way in from Portugal. We've got some viewers here from Connecticut. Let's see, Gregory from Connecticut, and we've got I Kinda Pawn here in Miami. So all right, we can go through that forever. I love seeing where people are tuning in for. We got Lydian in from Turkey and Detox. What's up from Jersey? So anyhow, all right, let's get into this. I want to talk a little bit about the bull market. What is up, John Deaton? Great to see you on. The one and only John Deaton tuning in from Twitter. What is up, John Deaton? Man, we are going to have you come back on here in the near future. Hopefully, we're going to start seeing some changes with the Ripple lawsuit, SEC Ripple. We saw obviously Ripple had issued their response. Really interested to see any kind of movement and changes within your case as well. But check this out. Let me, I got to go back. I want to look at what's going on right now in the market. The market has definitely been advancing at a rapid pace over the past couple days here. And I think it's, key here. Let's key in on what's going on with, let's look at CoinGecko. Now let's try to get away from the ads, get away from this website as cookies thing here. Now, this is what I've been kind of waiting for, which was a little bit of red in the space, a little bit of a sell-off over the weekend. But overall, earlier today, Bitcoin was touching 41,000. Ethereum has just been going crazy when it hit 1750, and the entire market pulling in an upward direction. If you guys can remember, it was like maybe about a week ago, and we saw a flippening of all the digital assets, pushing XRP down the line into like the 6th or 7th place. Overall. And so now we've seen even XRP entering in to the bullish phase at 43 cents. I saw it at 44 cents, 45 cents. Forget about the little bit of that parabolic bump from the what were they calling the buy and hold or pump and hold, but it was more of I'm sure a little bit of a pump and dump in the digital asset space. But overall, we're seeing some resilience here from XRP. And I think it's important to note, that XRP has finally taken a little bit of a cue. Now, it's interesting because this, again, is kind of proof positive of the separation of XRP from the lawsuit that is SEC v. Ripple. So now, obviously, as we know, that the XRP digital asset took a hit when the SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple. XRP was trending in an upward direction with the entire market until that complaint was filed. And as soon as that complaint was filed, it pushed XRP from the 60-cent range down to the 20 sub 20 range. And then it's resiliently bounced back, even though there's this case pending. Regardless of what's going on. The XRP digital asset has created that separation. What's amazing overall is that as you look down what's happening as a whole in this market, again, I'm really amazed at seeing, the direction that Ethereum is moving in, amazed at the direction that I'm seeing Binance Coin moving in. Binance Coin during the low time was around $12. And then Binance Coin, BNB, was always hovering in like this $20-$30 range. And then all of a sudden, over the past week or so, with everything moving up, we're seeing Binance Coin moving in the direction of $100. Now, I don't even know what to make of it. I don't know one way or the other. I don't own BNB. I don't have investment in BNB, so I don't know really what to make of the Binance Coin moving in the direction right now, getting closer and closer to that $100 mark. Litecoin also, pushing up and hitting new highs again in terms of from its low, obviously not its highs from back in 17, 18. Dogecoin, also another one that's has been just, crazy, because this one had always been as the, quote unquote joke coin, always hovered in the 0.001 to 0.003 range. And now we're seeing that it's holding. It's in this holding pattern of like 0.35 to about 0.035 to about 0.05. So it's 5 cents. Right now it's hovering just around under 5 cents. And it's kind of crazy to me to see the entire market, everything is now responding to this bullish trend, and it's healthy for the crypto space overall. Here's the Celsius network. Go check it out if you guys haven't. Celsius.network. That's a website where you guys can actually go. You can put digital asset on there. You can earn interest. But the thing is, they also have the Cell token. Not so easy to get because you have to go onto Uniswap, and there's a whole process of trying to get it. I believe you can also click and buy it through Celsius, through a third party. But this one, also, was down in the, not that long ago, was hovering, go back a couple months, around 38 cents, then pushed up to $1, then pushed up over $2. Now it's sitting nicely at like $5. And out of all the digital assets, you look at anything that is, tied to, a solid project. There's so many digital assets. I've been looking through them. I pulled some money out and I said, you know what? I'm taking money off of the Robinhood platform, and I'm going to move it over and I'm going to put everything into Ethereum. And now Ethereum has been pushing up a little bit higher than where I sold it, and I'm just holding now. I'm just in this holding pattern on that money that I moved from there, trying to figure out what to do with it. And I'm just trying to show a little, patience and see what happens. I'm looking to see if the market is going to kind of pull back a little bit due to people, taking profits. What does it mean? What does it mean for us, investing in the digital asset space? Is it good, bad that things are, moving up rapidly? So, just a little bit crazy here. Here you go. This is, man, I've been monitoring this. I'm glad you brought this up. I don't want to, let me see if I can get your name. Alu Walawo. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Just call you Coyote. But here with you guys all the way from Nigeria, we will stand with the crypto world despite our government stopping us from transacting cryptocurrency. I've been monitoring that, been watching it. Man, it's crazy that that the government over in Nigeria is taking that stance, making it difficult. I would love to get, if you have any perspective that you can share with us, that would be super helpful, outside of what we can kind of drag out of the media, and try to really figure out what is going on in the space. Really appreciate it. So let's see here. We got Mikey all the way in from Ireland. So welcome all the way in from Ireland. Great to see you. Let's see. Isn't it possible to consider European time while you are live streaming during the week? That's a great question, Ozcon. So we stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'd love to be able to consider European time and everywhere else as we're streaming. But when you get home, from you got work, you got all the other things going on. We kind of set that 8 p.m. is kind of a sweet spot, but point taken, point well taken. And maybe we'll have to look at some weekend hours for the European hours. So let's see here. Okay, so oh man, holy cow, look at that. BNB at $4, man. And I remember when it was down in that range, and if it's connected to an exchange, overall, I believe it's going to move in the right direction, especially as that exchange is growing. And that's one of the things I was looking at with BNB as well. Hey, I wanted to just make sure. I know I kind of jumped right into this. Forgot to tell you guys to make sure you go run and get some espresso. Hopefully you guys got your coffee during that little timer run up. If you haven't, then today I'm drinking a new coffee. Now I've had it before, so it's been a little while since I've had this one. This is Valhalla. So it's Valhalla Java. It's actually made by the same makers of Death Wish. So if you guys haven't found Death Wish coffee yet, go check that out. See if you can find Death Wish. You can get on Amazon. You can go to their Death Wish website. Not sure what it is. You guys got to search it, look it up. This coffee was actually roasted for Zach Wild. If you guys know who Zach Wild is, he was a guitarist. I'm not going to get into his history and everything, but they roasted this one for him, and it's an amazing espresso. Got a lot of flavor, dark, rich. It's really good. What's up, Stevie? So let's see here. So Coyote is saying it's actually the central banks placing the policy that just wouldn't have been done without the government backup. Nigeria is just way too centralized. So one of the things that we're definitely seeing, overall. Oh, hey, cash flow, what's going on? All the way in from Ohio. So hey, check this out. The Gaffers, brings up a good point. Time for DeFi. So hey, this is interesting. So one of the things as we look at this space, as it's growing, as it's developing, go back to the original concept of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was a kind of a separation, from mainstream. It was this idea that you could do without banks. So if you could transact P2P, you don't need the banks, and the whole world is just gonna be, in this symbiotic, kind of relationship, working with digital asset, and everything's gonna be great. But the one thing that we know when you take a step back into real world is that you always need some sort of a third-party mechanism in the business transaction. So whether that's a credit card that you're going to pay because you still, as a consumer, you still don't want to give people money directly. That's just a trust mechanism within society. So if I go and I buy a computer at the store, I want to have a semblance of comfort that that person that I bought the computer from is then going to take care of it if anything goes wrong. So I'm not going to be stuck. So the credit card allows you to offer some form of a chargeback, or it also just makes it a little bit more seamless of a transaction. So let's say the trust part was there. We're not running around with fiat in our pocket. So if we get to this point, this comfort level of working with a QR code and a digital asset wallet, we start scanning our phone. Until that time, we're using plastic or metal or whatever your card is made out of. But the point being is that there's a third-party mechanism that's involved in that process, and that third party is, quote unquote, the bank that is managing the flow of the money. So there's going to be that involvement regardless. So I don't see that, we're going to see everything really, pull back. Hang on. What is that? What is that? Your nickname is Easy Life. Stop playing it down. What's that? So as part of that, third-party mechanism, we're looking. So even as we get into our investment space, so as we go and we buy digital asset and we want to get into the digital asset space, there's a third party mechanism. There's an exchange that we're working with. And the exchange, we're not trading digital asset P2P. We could, that's still a viable option out there, but you need that third party. Now, even within the DeFi space, and I put this here, let me see, DeFi, and I like that idea, from Gaffer. Yeah, DeFi, decentralized finance, remove a lot of the fat elements from it. Remove, the centralized control mechanism, yet there's still going to be some sort of a third party construct that is helping to orchestrate the flow. And there has to be, through that, construct, you still need to have observers of the process. So let's say if you're going through, basically any of the digital asset, but let's, focus in on XRP. So you have validators and you have the nodes that are helping to process the transaction. But, through that process, you have all the transactions being processed, or you have, and then you have, voting going on how they can potentially change or adjust the rules of the game. So let's say that's in the decentralized aspect of it, but you take that, that structure, you then are plugging it into a company like Ripple that's using it within RippleNet and they're building on it. Or you have other third parties that are creating the cash programs, the cash payment programs building on the XRP ledger. Or you have companies like Flare that are building smart contract protocols on the, and building in the XRP ledger with the ERC20, with Ethereum, and they're creating interoperability between the different blockchain solutions. And so, there's a lot of that, but there's third party mechanisms in place, which is something I've argued a long time, that as we gradually move away from the centralized banking structure, the old guard, and we're moving into the new guard, it's replaced all over again by a banking structure. Because if we're putting our digital asset on a Coinbase or an Uphold or a Gemini or a Bitstamp, or you're putting your money into Celsius to earn interest, this is a bank essentially. If you look at Kraken, Kraken is over in Wyoming, and they have banking licensing, and it's a digital asset exchange. So just because we enter into decentralized finance doesn't mean that we remove the third party trust system out of it. So I think that that's, definitely instrumental. The key is that we're starting to migrate away from centralized control of the old guard, over to this new relationship. Huh. I like this. May I ask, as a new sub, what is your relationship to Ripple? I have zero relationship with Ripple whatsoever, other than being an investor in and owning digital assets, and one of them happened to be XRP. Our focus a lot on Ripple as a company is because it is one of the few companies in the space that has been creating and building a real world solution. So there's a lot of projects out there, and there's a lot of projects. One of the things Chip and I talk a lot about is that there's a distinction in projects. There are some projects that have created solutions to problems, and there's other projects that have created solutions in search of problems. And when you create a solution in search of a problem, you're probably deemed to fail, because there is no problem that you're trying to solve, or you're trying to invent the problem. Now, why is it interesting to look at Ripple? Again, because they are one of the few in this space, and that are building a project incorporating the XRP ledger and incorporating on-demand liquidity, which on-demand liquidity utilizing a digital asset in their solution for on-demand liquidity. So it becomes important as we look at the growth in the space to look at what Ripple is doing. And as we start looking at the different various aspects of it, we also have to then look at what is the government reaction to a company that's building up, growing in the space, and kind of I don't want to say attacking, but pushing against the old guard. And in this scenario, the old guard is Swift. So it becomes very important to watch as this project progresses, because the project, think about It's been around since 2012. So we're 8 years in to this project that's pushing back against SWIFT, that's migrating banks over to a new software platform, a new protocol away from SWIFT, which was a messaging protocol to allow banks to communicate with each other cross-border for cross-border payments, to allow a more seamless integration, of that transaction. Now think about SWIFT was formulated back in 1974. So we're talking about a solution that has been used for 46, 47 years, and it's a bit antiquated. So if we're working with antiquated technology with SWIFT, and we know all the different problems that are SWIFT, right? And if you've ever had to utilize SWIFT in your cross-border transactions, then you know all of the failures that it is subject to. And you know what it can also mean for damaging the flow of your business transaction. I've been there. I've used it for years. And, it's a, part of doing business, but it causes issue. And so when you see something coming up and it becomes exciting in the space, because you have Ripple utilizing this RippleNet solution, getting banks to incorporate it to change the way they're managing the flow of their customers' funds, and it's revolutionary. So the fact that Ripple is also then incorporating the on-demand liquidity. Let's say on-demand liquidity never occurs, never happens for the RippleNet. Let's say there's a complete separation of, and they never are able to fully transact ODL with all of their customer base. Ripple on its own then still is an amazing technology. It just loses the excitement of what they're working on. To me, the excitement of what they're working on, the game-changing solution of what they're working on, is the ODL, is the on-demand liquidity, because without that, they're just a better SWIFT. And yes, their messaging component is significantly better than SWIFT. But the only reason why I'd care about it at that point is that, if they ever have an ICO or a SPAC or a direct listing, then it would be interesting to buy stock in that company. But but working and focusing in on what they're doing for the digital asset space, for the cryptocurrency community, is massive. So they're leading the charge in real world development. So, from that perspective, that is why, we end up talking about it a lot, and we like to dissect it a lot, Goran. So I think that that's important. Let's see. So Steve, is this a new morning gig? No, this is, we've been doing the 8 a.m. Saturday mornings for a long time. So this has been a mainstay for a long time. So make sure you tune in. Actually, we were doing the 8 a.m. before we were consistent on the 8 p.m. So this is something that I was doing for a long time. So let's see. So this is, and Lydian saying, absolutely, projects behind cryptos makes the difference. 100% make the difference. Otherwise, cryptocurrency, digital asset, is just 100% speculative forever. It's never going to develop to that next level. I mean, even with Bitcoin, think again, the concept of the digital asset is to have real world utility. Originally, they look at Bitcoin as kind of a payment protocol, They wanted to use Bitcoin in payments. But as you get into it and the market advances, you can see that even if you try to build technology on Bitcoin, it's not as functional for day-to-day payments as are some of the other digital assets. Now, Bitcoin first in the space, amazing, but it's been identified as a store of value. And you're starting to see a lot of push in that direction. Look at MicroStrategy has put in $1 billion into Bitcoin, which is significant money. And Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy just held a webinar conference. I think he had like 1,000 corporations that attended his seminar talking about this push to investing in Bitcoin. So we're starting to see this corporate, view perspective on what's going on. It's funny because you go back a couple months, I remember I brought this up and somebody had pushed back to say, no, corporations aren't getting into Bitcoin. And that's just not, it was all kind of fake news. And then what do we see? We see one after another, including Mass Mutual, which is a company, it's a 100-plus-year-old insurance company that put $100 million into Bitcoin. So that's big. And then you have Grayscale with their trust. You have you have a Bitcoin trust, and you also have an Ethereum trust. You can actually invest in it if you have, like, if you're on Fidelity or one of the other platforms, they give you access to being able to invest into Grayscale and get a little bit of a touch into what's going on. If you look at some of the funds that are out there, like ARK, if you go check out ARK, it's ARK-investment, I think it is, or ARK-invest. So ARK is a very unique fund run by Kathy Wood, and it's really, really impressive to see what they're doing. But one of their funds is investing also in Grayscale to get a little bit of touching the crypto space a little bit. So let's see. That's interesting. Do we think the SEC might ask Brad Garlinghouse to step aside? I mean, anything is possible. I'm not sure if they're going to. I think Brad Garlinghouse, I think overall probably going to fight the case that everything that they've said about him is false. And so that was in their response to the complaint that the SEC filed. But what is interesting, Chip and I have been talking about this, that we've seen more and more CEOs that are actually stepping down from their companies. We saw Jeff Bezos just left. We saw the president of CNN just left. And I believe, from what I've heard, I mean, there's definitely push to have some of the other big CEOs in big tech also resign their positions and move on. But that'll be an interesting one to follow. I mean, anything is possible if they get into some sort of settlement negotiation. Then maybe anything's on the table. I don't know what they would gain from asking him to step down, unless it might be, the board at Ripple might ask him to step down if they see that there's still a conflict of interest, if that's one of the things that might actually help. Let's see. Here's a good one. Echo, yeah. How do you trust banks? We see more and more of this, keeps popping up, that like in Nigeria or other countries where they're blocking, the central banks will then block your ability to send funds, to send money, which makes it extremely, extremely difficult. So here you have, what is this? Blockcoin.io is created for the unbanked of Africa. And like Ripple, they own XRP and also BTC. And so that would be an interesting one to look at. But there's so much going on in Africa. There's so much going on in South America. Think about how you need to circumvent centralized control of your banks. Really, it's something that we haven't really had, in the US, we don't really have to put up with too much. In most of Europe, you don't have to put up with it too much. If you go into some of the more, developing countries or the more centralized control countries, there's, a mechanism there where people want, always are trying to find a way to circumvent. If you go to like, Venezuela, or you go over to parts of Africa, or even in India, and even India is growing so rapidly, but, China, as governments place heavy burdensome restrictions on the people need to find a way to do business on a day-to-day basis. So they'll try to find their method of circumvention. You go to Cuba. I mean, Cuba is extremely restrictive, but the people probably have found methods to continue their existence. And this is where, going to like a block coin, like in Africa, being able to invest and transact in digital asset, but maybe there's a way to get around it. I don't know. I mean, the big issue is really, as banks make it impossible to move money over to those digital asset exchanges, how do you get your money into a digital asset, if you can't move your money? So then there's other methodologies. That's where decentralized, transaction comes into play, but then it becomes peer-to-peer, P2P transaction. I send you money via, let's say, a Venmo or a PayPal or Zelle or whatever it is, and you buy the digital asset and send me the digital asset. Yeah, I mean, there's probably ways to go around it. So where's the bull run? Well, the bull run is XRP from 25 cents up to 43 to 45 cents. You know, um, what's this? I'm glad I found out you do live shows. I'm definitely tuning in when I can. Your knowledge is key, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that feedback. That's awesome. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, look at that, Michael, the heavyweight champion of the world, XRP, XLM, XDC. So I upped a little bit more investment in the XDC. That's going to be interesting. But all right, let me get into this. I put up so many different things that I wanted to get into, and I was thinking about some of these definitions. Let me shut this off. Let me see here. So I've got, and I thought this would be kind of an interesting place to start. Let me see. I don't have. Let me go one by one, I guess. I forgot to connect my other monitor, so I'm on one monitor here. And then I got to share it. Let's see here. All right. So, if we think about, what we're doing, with the, there we go. So this is Ripple, and you look at the Ripple website, and Chip and I were kind of digging through it a little bit the other day. And I look at this: instantly move money to all corners of the world. And this to me is, extremely important overall, as a concept, as an idea, as something that they're promoting front and center on their website. Discover why hundreds of financial institutions choose RippleNet to provide a better payments experience and enable great economic opportunity for everyone everywhere. As we were just talking about before, but here's some of the key points. A new era of finance. They're really doing their part, to accommodate this transition. Here's some of the 3 key points that they built, and of these 3, there's one that we have to really focus in on, and this is going to bring us into everything else that we're going to talk about today. From this point, I kind of started there, and we kind of meandered a little bit, but decentralized infrastructure, 3+ seconds to send a payment, modernized messaging. This is what we were talking about earlier, taking on Swift, 0% failure rate. Somebody brought up Swift's failure rate is like 7%. All I know is that it's high. It's high because I've had Swift transactions fail, and it's no fun when that happens. Liquidity solutions, 0% in funding. To me, the liquidity solution is really what it's all about. And that's where, oh, what's up, man? One Rough Rican, appreciate the support. That's awesome. One Rough, having some Black Rifle coffee as we speak. Awesome. All right, hang on a second. Let me get back here. Too many clicks to get where I want to go. Now I got to share it. There we go. So this one is, so this is ODL. And so I'm not sure what this thing is here, but ODL, so free working capital with on-demand liquidity, deliver instant cross-border payments without pre-funding. This is the game changer. This is why, we're talking about earlier, and I brought this up, and this is something that they're heavily focused in on, and there are companies that are already utilizing ODL. Now, ODL is important because ODL is utilizing XRP to complete these transactions. So Osimo uses on-demand liquidity for faster international payments into the Philippines. Now, there's only maybe a handful of their customers right now that are utilizing on-demand liquidity, but it is being used, and it is being used successfully. And it's just a matter of time, as they keep pushing and rolling it out. GoLance is another one that's using ODL, and here, they're moving money over to freelancers. And then, here's a little explanation of how it works. So they're, as they get into this, as they develop, it's obviously, there's a lot going on, a lot that still needs to happen, and not all the banks are currently using. I think one of the things that Chip and I talked about the other day was that Ripple just got their certification for SOC 2. But what's more important is that they're talking about the RippleNet cloud, which is taking everything from legacy, which is software, hardware based, transacting and moving it to the cloud to allow for more seamless integration of the RippleNet solution and the ODL solution. So that'll be good as that all happens. Hey, so if there's anybody new here that has not subscribed yet, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button down there. And when you do hit the subscribe, hit the little bell notifier. That little bell notifier will let you know every time we post a new video. We also have another channel. So if you go into the description, you'll see another channel, and we do short form videos over there. They might be 10 minutes. They might be 20 minutes. I made a 30-minute video and I thought it was 20 minutes. But anyhow, you guys can check that out. So let's see. So here's, Steve brings up, where would you buy XRP that's equal to Coinbase's reputation and compliance? That would be Uphold. So, I think Uphold is a great platform. They have a lot of digital asset on Uphold. You can go and buy fiat currency on Uphold, like other currencies. You can buy metals on Uphold. Depending on where you are in the world, you can also buy securities on Uphold. They have a listing of some of them. So go check out Uphold and then kind of do your own due diligence and decide if that platform is for you. They've been around a long time, so they've been really good. Yep. XLM has EURB, USDC, and can do basically the same. Yeah, sure. If they win the lawsuit, it will be big. But until then, I will do a 3x somewhere else. That's a great point. That's zone out, from an investment perspective. Can you find digital asset opportunities elsewhere? That would be really interesting. Jacob, you guys should do a $4.99 monthly membership option on the channel so we can support. And Jacob, I appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say that. But we've been trying to figure something out that would provide value to everybody that's subscribed here versus just doing something to look just looking for support. There are some things that are baked into YouTube that we're looking at to allow people to kind of distinguish themselves in the chat and things like that. But there's kind of like a little bit of a balance. So, but I appreciate you bringing that up because we love all you guys. You guys are really the foundation that is the On the Chain show and the On the Chain community. So, all right. So let me go over a few things here. I think these are important. One of them, there's a lot of talk about IPOs, and this to me is important because I think we're going to see more and more and more IPOs go in this direction, and we're already starting to see it. We're also starting to see direct listings. And I think we need to talk a little bit about the direct listing. What's the difference between an IPO and a direct listing? But before we do that, even getting into what is the special purpose acquisition company, because the SPAC, if you go on the news, you're reading about these SPACs like all day long. I mean, it's insane. These special acquisition companies that are rolling out, instead of doing an IPO, they're raising capital in a different way. So here it says a special purpose acquisition company, a company with no commercial operation that is formed strictly to raise capital through an IPO for the purpose of acquiring an existing company. That's it. Also known as blank check companies. They've been around for decades, but they've become more popular. But now they're being talked about on a regular basis. So although they've been around, it's not something brand new. It's amazing. It's amazing how many companies are being formed or being funded through these SPACs. But check, more than 50 SPACs have been formed in the U.S., which have raised about $21 billion, right? So that's just in a short period of time. And so it's really amazing. How does it work? What is it doing? It's formed by the investors and or sponsors, and they're very focused with expertise in a certain sector. But if you go on and you start reading some of the finance news, you're seeing that they're finding their way around the traditional IPOs because it's easier to raise money this way. And now you have investors raising the money. You're not investing specifically in that one company. And so, there's a lot of examples of it. I don't want to get into every, specific example. Oh, look at that. That's where my camera goes away. Oh, there's that problem again. Hang on a second. Hey, why do I have Chip's head up here now? That's funny. Hang on a second. Am I in the wrong? I'm in the right brand. Can you guys still hear me? My camera just went away. Hang on. Let me see if I can stop my camera. I can't do that. All right, hang on. Hang tight. Hang tight. Let's see here. I think I can I think I have to leave and come back. This happened before. Let me see if I can I share my screen? Let me see. Might have to finish just by doing a screen share. Let me see. Let's see if my screen shares. Okay. There's a glitch in the software. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll have to do this until I can figure it out. So IPO versus a direct listing, what's the difference? This is also important. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is mainly because you have the direct listing is exactly how Coinbase is going to be listed. So again, they've registered for a traditional IPO, and now they're going for the direct listing. And so it's not going to be unique just to, let's say, Coinbase, but we've had a lot of others that have dropped not that long ago using a direct listing. Palantir is one of them. Spotify is one of them. Roblox, if you guys have kids or you know about Roblox, so the Roblox IPO or direct listing is going to be happening very, very soon, probably in the next few weeks. They're going through a direct listing. And then again, Coinbase decided to go through a direct listing. Now, the main difference here is that when you do a direct listing, you actually get to take, and what they're saying here, you take existing shares, outstanding shares, they're sold without underwriters involved. So you go and you basically are selling them directly to the investors. Now, if you think about the IPO process, there's like pre-IPO sales, and they have shares just for IPO. But by the time the retail consumer of these securities get to actually invest, the IPO has already been inflated, or the stock price has already been inflated to a price that is now potentially negligible to the individual, because those that got into the pre-IPO, they're the ones that are making all the money. And so, so that's always, a little bit difficult, if you're thinking about from an IPO perspective. Now here with the direct listing, it immediately engages the retail investor, and the retail investor immediately gets an opportunity. So, which is Kanye and Lil Pump taught me about Roblox. That's awesome. Yep. So, so this is where, it becomes, really, really crucial to really, I guess, understand this difference, this distinction between an IPO and a direct listing. And it's going to filter over for sure over into the digital asset space, because we're already seeing, like, there were ICOs, but they didn't like those. And so finding other methodologies to distribute digital asset. So this is gonna be tough, as I got to keep flipping between different screens. I'm gonna try to find an easier way to do this. Let me see. Stop that. Oops, that's my camera. Wonderful. All right. Without having the second monitor on, it's making it a little difficult. Let me see if I can go with application window. Let me see. Oh, how can I tell if I got the right one up here? Hang on. All right, let me add this to the stream. I don't know what you guys are seeing here, but do you guys see the do you guys see the Investopedia? No, that's not going to work. Hang on. I should have my other monitor plugged in. All right, let's just go down. All right, I actually wanted to go over to this one because we kind of were talking about the DeFi space, and the DeFi space isn't necessarily, the DeFi space isn't necessarily, free of exploit, I guess is my point. And so one of the things that happened here recently, now Yearn Finance, as we've seen, Yearn Finance blew up. It increased at such a rapid pace that it now I think it's sitting around 31,000 Yearn Finance. But here there's an exploit, and there were $2.8 million stolen. There were 11 million in loss. And so again, so as we can see, that there's definitely exploit. What happens in a decentralized scenario when there is an attack? Who do you go to? Who helps bail that out? For those that lost money, who's on the other side to support them? If you're working with a third-party digital asset exchange like a Coinbase or an Uphold or Binance US or Bitstamp or whatever it is, you can turn to the exchange and say, hey, you guys were hacked for money. I lost money. Now you got to, compensate. You got to figure that out. When you're in this environment like this, and fully decentralized, what happens? Who's the one that's actually going to, track it down? So let's see. The founder of DeFi later tweeted out the transaction at the heart of the exploit involving numerous DeFi protocols, more than $5,000 of ETH denominated gas fees, a complex exploit with over 160 nested transactions, 8.6 mm gas used for around 75% of the block, resulted in $2.7 million loss. That's massive. So where did the money come from? Who lost the money? There's all these different variables in that scenario, and we don't, there's not one, responsible party. So here's another one. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. So we've got PayPal shutting down domestic payment business in India. Now I was looking at this. I'm like, why are they shutting down their domestic payment business over in India? PayPal has been kind of in expansion mode. They've got, so they just got, basically over there. The market is massive over in India. So obviously either something happened within the government relationship with PayPal. They're saying that they're shifting priorities. But I want to know what that really means, because look at this. 360,000 merchants. and they're still struggling. I don't get it. Unless there's better solutions over in India, which I know there are some really good solutions over there, but it doesn't make any sense unless there's something else going on as to why they pulled out, which is something that I have to believe. And it just doesn't happen that way. Let's see. So, all right, and then this one's not any good. Okay, so there's something else that I wanted to point out, and then and I thought this was also important, because as we start going through this space and we start seeing how the regulators are addressing certain things, the one thing that seems to be a common thread with everything is that mainstream media creates turmoil through misinformation and specifically written clickbait type titles. Now, it's interesting because in YouTube, you get a lot of people that are saying, if you post something on YouTube, and obviously you want people to come in, you want people to watch. If you write an article, you want people to read. So you want to engage their interest somehow. But mainstream media, kind of the masters of how they kind of manipulate the readers. This is a perfect one. Robinhood CEO isn't licensed with Wall Street regulator FINRA. So this connotation of, as they pick on the Reddit group and now they're picking on Robinhood. I haven't seen any negative articles about Melvin Capital or Citadel in this whole process. They haven't picked on the hedge funds. Nothing. No negative news that I've found. And these are always front and center type news. Now, in this scenario with Robinhood, we get into it like, oh my God, I can't believe the CEO isn't licensed with Wall Street. Why doesn't he have a license? I mean, how could he be operating without a license? And look at this. The CEO of Robinhood and public face of the fast-growing online brokerage is not licensed by Wall Street's largest self-regulator. Oh my God! I mean, this is horrible, right? And then you get into, okay, well, it's not entirely unusual for the heads of financial holding companies to lack such license, or maybe there's many other CEOs that also don't have license. Further reported by CNN is raising further questions about the company's operations. So why would this raise further questions about the company's operations if it's not unusual that other heads of financial holding companies don't have the same license? So then they go into Robinhood's role in a recent market mania, blah, blah. FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulator Authority, non-government entity, regulates brokerages and exchanges. Okay, so here, the leader of the broker-dealer businesses are generally expected to register. You must be registered with FINRA if you're engaged in the securities business of your firm. However, Robinhood points out that Tenev is the CEO of Robinhood, which is the holding company that's the parent of Robinhood's brokerage arm. So he's the CEO of Robinhood Markets. So this could just be semantics, but he doesn't have to. He's not required to register based on what his title is. Again, that could be semantics from Robinhood's perspective. The heads of Robinhood's relevant security-related subsidiaries do have FINRA approval. So if you read the article is slanted in with this perspective and really tinted with all this language that the CEO is somehow in the wrong because they don't have the correct licensing. However, as you read through the narrative, you find out that in fact the key players within Robinhood, the heads of Robinhood's relevant securities related subsidiaries, do have FINRA approval. Now it says here, then it explains, what you have to do to pass the qualification exams, stuff that's not so relevant to what we're talking about. Oh, look, some competitors have CEOs who are FINRA licensed, but not all. But we're going to pick on Robinhood anyways, because we're not going to focus on what happened with the hedge funds and the shorting, but we want to shine a light on something that is kind of like irrelevant. This whole article is irrelevant. It's common in the financial industry for broker-dealer operations to be subsidiaries of a larger holding company. Great. So why don't they just say that? And then they get into it rose to popularity since 2013. Oh, it was the primary trading platform for many Redditors who drove up the price of GameStop. Regulators and policymakers have questioned whether Robinhood adequately discloses risk to traders. Well, what does this have to do with whether or not they're licensed or not licensed, which is the premise of their entire article? So the whole article is false. It's just a complete, false article, a false narrative, and pushing people in the wrong direction when we should be focused on what was happening with the hedge funds. So anyhow, I thought that was an interesting kind of wrap-up story. Sorry, my camera kind of cut out. You guys have been awesome sticking with me here through the hour, bright and early here at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays, every Saturday. So definitely, come back, check us out. We'll be back again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll try to find more European-based hours to get on here and stream as well. So definitely appreciate that feedback. And as always, definitely hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the little bell notifier. Make sure you get notified to every single one of our videos that we drop. Check out our podcast. Check out the other channel. And we will be back again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have an amazing day. I'm out. You can't even see me, but I'm out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.